Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors to the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage. Welcome to Gravedigger's home.
My name's Pat Jansen. Welcome to Grease and Gears Garage. Yes, that's where you clap now. Woo! Yeah, man.
Probably not.
I'll pay you guys $1 an autograph later if you let me give you my. No, I won't do that. We are just mechanics from around the country. We have custom motorcycle shops. I'm from just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. Very exciting place, very busy, cosmopolitan area. But I got Sin Central Garage there. You can look me up on Instagram. But then we've got just all over. But Chris, Mark, and I, Chris and Mark have flat broke rods and chops out of Pittsburgh. We travel around the country with our tools, and we set up a stage and then invite people to be a part of what a garage feels like. So I'm going to need your guys' help with this. If you guys need to see anything closer or have a question or curious about something or didn't quite catch something, say, hey, wait, what happened there? If you're not getting something. Unfortunately, in this segment, we've got Moos, Chris Moos from Misfit Industries in Dallas.
Hey, y'all.
He's going to do, not yet. Hey. Let's withhold judgment. Let's just say that. No, but he's going to talk fast and do math, and he's too smart, and he touches me, but he's big, so I have to let him. Prison rules. I got some cigarettes. Wait, I got some cigarettes. But anyway, so that's what we do. We Facebook Live it so that if you miss anything in any one of our segments, you can go back to CycleSource.com. JMP Cycles is a great partner of ours, world's largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts. They're a great partner with the custom motorcycle world doing the JMP Cycles Ultimate Builder Competition here. Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. You can go to the motorcycleshows.com page, and you can go back and look at these segments, or to make it easy, Grease and Gears Garage on YouTube. And you can go there and you can see. We've been doing these. This is our 6th show for the Progressive International Motorcycle Show, but we've been doing it rallies for 2 years. You can go there and see how to narrow tanks. We had a cat build a tank from scratch. We had handlebars made from scratch, frames built from scratch. This bike, War Pony, that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, is a bike that we're building from the frame up from the first show in Long Beach. It'll ride off supposedly in 2 weeks, we're going to ride that off the stage in Washington. I kind of made a big promise, and not exactly sure. I'm not riding it off the stage. I'll make one of them do it. But so anyway, enjoy, have fun, and welcome to our garage. Right now, what we're going to be doing is we have Chris Moos, and he's going to love this. Nick Beaulieu.
Beaulieu.
Huh? Beaulieu?
Beaulieu.
I got it right.
Beaulieu, yeah.
Beaulieu. I got it right. It doesn't have an R in it, but he's from.
Just remember the ball part.
He's from Portland, Maine. He's like, so it's Beaulieu.
What's that?
I always call him Beaulieu. I don't know why. It's because I like the bear. But anyway, we've got Nick from Two Wheels Forever, Maine, and we've got Chris Moos from Misfit Industries. And for War Pony, our build here, they're going to be building us a custom exhaust system. They're going to be showing us how to use a really cool kit that you can get through Misfit Industries to build a custom exhaust that's going to blow your mind. If you said, I'm sitting here, I could never build custom exhaust, you are going to be able to, by the end of this segment, figure out how to access a tool that will allow you to build custom exhaust. It's the only one like it in existence. So you're going to want to see that. So guys, are you ready?
We're working it out.
I mean, the schedule said 11.
Yes, okay.
All right, well, I'm going to go take a nap. This is Crystal. I don't even know why she's up.
Everybody give it up for the beautiful Crystal.
Because it's Chris's girlfriend, and so
my lady.
He makes her come up so that everybody knows that the rumors aren't true, and he actually likes girls. So, are they true?
She likes girls?
I mean, when we broke up,
oh, Well, but I had long hair then, too.
You did, and that was different. Times are changing. The times, they are changing. All right,
like
Chris, tell us what you're going to do up here for us.
Well, I'm still going to accept you for who you are for number one. So, basically what we have is we have an exhaust tube fabrication kit. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to model your exhaust in physical space without actually wasting material or...
Chimpanzee and grabs it.
I don't want to miss it. Back to number one. So what we have is a plastic modeling kit. So everybody here, anybody ever use Legos when they were a kid? Eat lead paint? Should not be raising your hand still.
They ate
unless it's true. I mean, but either way, so what it allows us to do is we typically, in the past when we build an exhaust, we take a U-bin, you get something like this. In order to figure out where you're going to put this on the bike, you have to kind of assume, you know, what your lead out is going to be, your cylinder head. You're looking at things like you're going to, you know, avoid the cone area. If you have an air cleaner, typically it's here, and you're going to route your tubing a certain way. Well, in order to approach that, you kind of have to say, okay, what point am I going to cut this to make it start? It just doesn't make sense. So a lot of us in the past, we just go, that looks good. You go back, you cut it, and then you go to put it back on the bike, and you realize, like, I just wasted $70. This doesn't work, and I can't use it on anything else because I cut it wrong, and then you grind it a little bit, and it gets too short or whatever. So approaching it from the standpoint where you could actually take a system and model it. Find me the right insert for that so we know what size that is. 2-inch, 3-inch center line, is that what that is? So what we have in this kit is we have plastic components with the correct radius on it that allow you to model your exhaust. It's in here, right?
Possibly.
2-inch, nope, it's in that box right there. So this is 2-inch, 3-inch center line radius, which I believe is the tubing that he has in his hand. So what you'd able to do is take your kit, assemble your bin, 2-inch, 3-inch center line radius. You can model your exhaust in plastic. What this comes with is a group of blocks for 2-inch and 1.75 inch. It allows you to model your exhaust in either diameter, and on each one of these pieces, there's an indice, in layman's term, there's marks on it, that allows you to line these up so that you can basically construct that piece in plastic. So you take your U-bin in plastic. This is a cut template. We'll get to this later. But typically, you know, if you're going to cheat, you got that B-game guy in your shop that doesn't know how to really do anything, but he can read a little bit. So you go, hey, man, 2-inch, 3-inch center line. It fits right here. You use this to cut later. So at least you can model the right piece. And you say, hey, go give me some in plastic. So you got it in plastic. You get them in 3- and 4-inch center line radius. For those of you that don't know, it's dictated by the center line here and what that is off the center of the circle, so it dictates the curvature of this piece. So we have those in 2-inch diameters for 3 and 4-inch, which would be broader than this. And that is 36 inches of each one of those components. And I'm looking for 2-inch straight. It is a lot of pieces, but I tell you what, it makes life easy. So we have 2-inch straight here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to construct that piece in plastic so that we can talk about what we do to approach the next step. No, Pat. No means
He doesn't
no.
like it when I try to put him back in the bag.
No means no.
Because I got to go back in the right bag.
You got to organize this stuff. And you know, the thing is, it's like, if you get them mixed up, you can do some really poor modeling. Pat does modeling on the side. Typically, it's hand modeling.
Not now. I just opened my knife and poked myself in my nail bed. I can't even work here and not bleed. Really hurts, though.
It's your heart that bleeds.
My heart bleeds. It's a good thing to know my knife is still sharp, though.
Bless your heart.
I poked myself in the thumb hard enough, my hand's shaking. It really hurts. You want to kiss it?
Don't do it.
Everybody?
Hepatitis.
I got 2 no's. I'll stop asking.
So back to this. If you had this piece of tubing, you wanted to model it up, and the reason why I broke it off a little chunk first to start with is because I know I'm not going to be using it, but if I had the whole section here, and I'm going to find where I'm going to lead out, I'm going to start with an arc tangent, more than likely, in order to build this piece off the bike. So what you can do is you'll take this piece and you can kind of bring it up to your motorcycle and create kind of an idea of how much of this tubing you want to use in order to exit your primary. And typically, like on this one, we're going to use a little bit of straight to approach that exit, because we want to come out a little bit to avoid the fins here. And so we'll take this section and we'll just say, I might only need this much of it to begin with. And that resembles that whole piece of tubing. We're able to put that up there and say, okay, this is kind of a good start. If we decided we wanted to build an exhaust that kind of came out and went below your air cleaner type thing, we're able to look at where this is in space and say, this makes sense to cut. So we can look at this, and we could even say if we wanted to continue to use the rest of that material and just be real stupid with it, we can say, okay, all of these, there's marks all the way around this, which allow you to kind of orient it a certain way. So wherever you have a segment that splits, you know that this originally was a continuous flat piece. You want to try to build your exhaust with as few pieces as possible, and this allows you to do that because you're able to line this up with all these marks. There's a nice little arrow on the back side of each one of these where you can correspond its flatness. And so if you knew you had a segment that needed to be something like this, you align your pieces and make sure that you're using, again, the fewest pieces of tube in order to approach your bends. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be going into the other cylinder head.
That's a bad idea.
It's just terrible freaking math. But knowing that we're going to need a little bit of straight in order to get across the air cleaner area, I identified with that 1-inch lead out that we're going to get about, it's that easy. I mean, you don't have to like waste a bunch of time cutting material. I just cut the material twice. So here we have enough bend to get across the air cleaner area right here. Maybe just a little bit more. Too much. So you're able to stop at that point and say, okay, I need to go back to straight. It's that easy. So cool. I've got that much I need. I made sure all this is lined up on the back side. That's a continuous piece that I'm going to be able to cut out of there. And I could say judiciously that that's enough material to come right out of that cylinder head and model my exhaust.
Because right now, honestly, there's a million other ways that you would be modeling this right now. Some guys take welding wire, TIG sticks, and they'll move them around and get the shape and then try to model it. And you're digging around. If you built any exhaust, you're digging around in boxes, very expensive boxes. You don't realize it because you don't want to think about it. Very expensive pieces of stuff that very expensive pieces of stuff that you've cut and messed up before. That's like magic. You're like a huge Harry Potter right now. Hermione, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I prefer Hermione. So anyway, one of the things he was speaking about, and this is really true, guys would take something like this and say, hey man, let's figure out what we're going to do to bend this. So you go, that's how much material I have, this is how long the piece is, which I like. That's only certain, that's about that much length here. But if you did this and you said, you know what, I want to bring my exhaust, I'm going to bring my exhaust out of here and I'm going to make this happen. Well, in reality, you didn't use anything really efficiently to bend this, so you don't even know that this arc is correct. You know that you need 90 degrees worth of stuff. But here's the bigger drawback to doing something like that is that you don't have the physical representation of girth, which everybody knows girth is important when it comes to measuring your exhaust tubing. So you want to take the space that is going to create the greatest amount of interference and put it in place when you're modeling your exhaust, mainly because you want to make sure you don't run into anything. If you did this and you went to your piece of tubing and you cut it, you might end up with that $70 loss again, really simple. So you want to absolutely make sure that you have the greatest spatial representation of the actual tubing that you're going to make. And by doing that this way, you saw how quickly I was able to say, okay, I need that much of this piece. I changed it like, 4 or 5 times in just a few minutes because it's done. It's here in your hand. So now once you've done this, you need to go to the rest of your kit to determine what it is you're going to cut in order to make this piece. I'm not dedicating this at this point because Nick and I still have to talk about exactly what we're doing. But this is the cutting block that comes with a kit, and it fits this piece of tubing. Now, the issue with what I have here is that this is a straight piece, as you can see here. So what we would actually do, where's that little sleeve? Give me that right there. So in order to retain the exhaust what you have on this specific motorcycle, you got a flange that typically slips over your pipe, and then you have this clip that stays inside the flange. And that typically rests against the shoulder when you bolt it up, and it sucks the exhaust up against the gasket that's inside your cylinder head. So in order to do that, we take a little piece of tubing here, and we'll slip that around that leader. Well, the benefit here is that we're actually going to need this little straight piece right here. So we'll take a nice little 1-inch chunk of tubing, and we'll slip this over it to where it creates a shoulder to where this will have a nice little edge to grab and will retain inside the flange. So as the model goes, specifically now, because I have that there, we already know that we can say, go cut this piece. Then we take this here. But wait, there's more.
Hey, Nick, pull one of those out of a bag. It freaks him out.
Do what?
Pull one of those pieces out of a random bag. It freaks him out.
Yeah? Put them in the other bag?
Put it in the other bag.
I'll put one of the 2-inch and the 1.75-inch ones. But the only issue is I bought this
is
kit.
Nick's kit, so he can do it, and I don't care. I mean,
then
he's the one that loses, not me.
I'm playing mix and match later. Yeah.
So technically, he's kind of showing me how to use this kit.
That's the whole point. So,
because I used to do it the old school way, where you kind of like, oh, that looks about right. Try to make every cut fit, perfect as possible.
You've tried this one.
That one doesn't work.
This one doesn't
as well.
Work.
It works.
You tried that?
What?
To do? We were just showing it like this, try to get a shape of exhaust.
What are you trying to do? What's that?
People do it.
People have done it. So once you've actually established the piece that you need, you know that it's coming from this piece of material because this represents this. So in order to cut this appropriately with the components that we have the blocks that allow you to orient your material. You would put this on your bandsaw, horizontal, vertical bandsaw. You would take this piece of plastic that represents your tubing that would be captured on here.
Use that.
And you will rotate that so that it orients correctly to the cut line. And then you would tighten that down. And it's conical shaped washer and it clamps super tight, so it's actually really rigid. Then you will take, now that we know that this is that cut point, it's defined by its orientation, we're able to take this off, take your tubing, put it in place, and then you can take this back to your bandsaw, put a clamp on it, somewhere to just keep it in place so it doesn't roll around when you cut it. Put it on your bandsaw, and typically all bandsaws are a little bit different. The blades are offset a little bit different, so I'll clamp a fence out here or something to guide this against, or just really be straight lined with it as best you possibly can.
Can measure.
This takes the measuring out of it, honestly, because there's something to say about trying to draw a straight line all the way around this. And when you're trying to connect tubing to each other, one of the things that is super critical is that it be cut off directly off the center line of that radius. Because if you cut it like this, and you try to fit those two pieces together, you take a piece of tubing as it is like this, straight, and you cut it at a 45-degree angle. Well, the only thing that's going to mate up to is another piece that's cut at 45 degrees, because the geometry, the distance that is created around that cut only matches up to a complementary exact same cut. And you want your tolerances when you're welding your exhaust to be pretty tight, because you get blow through. It's really
thin. If you can imagine trying to make all those cuts, it gets confusing, and it doesn't matter how many times. Chris Moos is one of the most talented fabricators that I know, and it gets confusing just making those cuts and trying to put those pieces together. This system,
makes it where your cut is where it should be.
It's where it should be.
That way, if you had to do this, and that's not just a straight line. I mean, if you had to do this,
you don't want to even
make sure that where this joint is, that those two pieces are cut exactly the same, and the kit's going to allow you to do that. So you go over there, go to your bandsaw, run it through it, give it a cut, and you're going to have that section that you need. So then you're able to take your material off at that point, deburr it, get it ready for weld. But after you've done that, and you've actually had it cut, you need to take your material and align your pieces. So you have a number of pieces that you've constructed for your entire exhaust. Can you put together 2-inch, 3-inch center line radius? 2-inch.
For those of you just joining us on Facebook Live or they're coming in, it's Grease and Gears Garage. We're just a bunch of greasy mechanics. If you got a question, come on up. If you need to see this closer, just come up and ask. We'll get you on stage and you can take a look at what they're doing. We want to inspire, educate, and entertain you. Most of all, we want you to go back and customize something on whatever bike you're riding. We got Chris Moos and Nick Beaulieu from Misfit Industries in Dallas, Two Wheels Forever in Maine. So they're teaching us how to use this Engine Iceworks kit to build a custom exhaust for our War Pony build.
Mind you, this is the Misfit Industries exhaust tube fabrication kit that we have built by Ice Engine Works out of Austin, Texas. They provide it exclusively to us for you so that you can purchase it. It is an exhaust-specific kit because it comes with 36 inches of 1 3/4 and 2 inch material in straight for both, and then 2, 3, and 4 inch centerline radii for 1 3/4 and 3 and 4 inch centerline radii in 2 inch diameters. It allows you everything you need to build an exhaust kit. So after you've modeled your exhaust, and let's just say that you've made this monstrosity right here, and you've got to replicate this. Well, in order to hold all this together as you go to model it on the exhaust and hold it in place, the kit comes with a couple of clamps that allow you to hold your tubing sections together. This is actually 1 3/4. Give me 1 3/4 bend real quick. No, a bend. Oh. It allows you to take this and slip it onto your exhaust pieces. So as you continue to model your exhaust, this is tight. So we need tools to loosen those. As you,
ocean.
Sounds beautiful. So as you were to hold this in place, you'd introduce your other section of tubing onto here. Now this is straight, so obviously I'd only clamp this straight to another straight piece, but let's just hypothetically say this is in the middle of a bend. You'd be able to take this and put the two pieces of tubing together on either side of this, clamp it down, orient it correctly. And again, you kind of have to use the marks that you have on here to assume the responsibility of orientation. So you'd be able to take this straight continuous piece here, lay it flat on the ground or your table. Take your bend, lay it flat on the table. This is 2 inch. You'd be able to measure 1 inch up and put a line all the way around the back side of this. That's going to give you the center line of the back side of this. All these little lines orient, so you'd be able to kind of assume your orientation. But in order to do the modeling, you can physically put this on the bike, take these clamps, clamp your tube sections together to help hold it in place so that you can then reach through here and weld it in order to maintain that orientation as you build and continue to model your exhaust.
Now, those of you who've been sitting here, can you begin to get a sense that with this system, you could build a custom exhaust? Now, you're saying yes. Now, before
We're gonna need to open anyway, so we need
sat and saw this system, did you think you could make a custom exhaust? Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, you're like, an exhaust on any bike, it doesn't matter if it's a dirt bike, a BMW, a Harley Davidson, a Triumph, exhaust is a statement piece when you want to customize your motorcycle. So instead of buying something off the shelf, you buy this kit, you know, and I'm not trying to sell the kit, but it's the only kit like it out there. You get a kit like this. I mean, you can go try to build your own if you're good with molding plastic, I guess, and math. But if you get this kit, instead of buying, you know, a $600-800 exhaust system, and that's the one you've got, and you see it every time you go out, I mean, you could build for you and your buddies. You could sit around and build. And if you can't weld, if you can just tack, you get the exhaust system tacked together, you can take it to a shop and have them welded up, and you got a custom exhaust every year for your bike. It's
But wait.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. So whenever you're introducing your tubing into the bike, you have to have a way to hold it in place. But you also have to have a way to hold your model piece in place.
You're doing a good job, Nick.
So there is like a regular plumbing pipe expander, but it's not a regular expander. It's simple. It has an Allen on one side, and when you tighten it down, it expands these two diameters here. Well, one of those actually engages into the pieces, so you're able to put it on the modeling block like this that you're going to start your exhaust with, give it a little bit of snug so that it kind of expand and retain itself inside there. Nick's trying to find an Allen wrench right now. I think I need to maybe guide him a little. But either way, you'd be able to take this and then put the correct diameter for your primary and introduce it into the exhaust here. Typically what I'll do is I'll take the gaskets out of the flange here. I'm going to end up putting a new one in there anyway. This will actually hold the modeling pieces onto the bike so that you then could just snug it up enough where you can continue to rotate it and then model the exhaust off of that and keep it in place. But it also allows you to where if you start putting the first piece of tube on your bike, that you can put that tube up there, tighten it in place, put the modeling blocks back on it, reorient all your pieces, get your next piece, put it up there, and then continue the process through the rest of the exhaust so that you have all of it kind of in place as you move along. It gives you a point of reference. It allows you to hold this like a third hand.
Nick, show them your skills now. You're doing a good job, Nick.
Not much. I know
Doing a good job.
So we're going to go ahead and start building the pipe out for this.
Do it.
Okay.
When you guys get to a point of what I really want to do this time in this segment is when you get to the point of cutting it on a bandsaw, I'd really like to get somebody up here that's never done this before so that you can show them just how easy it is. So, I mean, it's not a trick. It's not just to show them just how easy it is.
It's not made for TV magic.
It's not made for TV
Made
magic.
for Progressive International Motorcycle Show magic.
Progressive International Motorcycle
Okay,
Show.
so
What I
this-
love about Grease and Gears Garage when we're doing this is we give guys, we're going to build a custom exhaust system here on stage in an hour and a half. We give guys a job that normally without this kit in my shop, to build a complete custom exhaust system would take me 3 days.
He's doing really
With this kit, you can really, depends on how fast you weld. I'm a slow welder, but and I'm my own boss. That doesn't help. But in a day, easy, I can have an exhaust knocked out. So if you're out there and you got a small shop or something, and you've never kind of gotten into doing custom exhaust, this is also a great revenue stream for a local shop. If you've got a community garage or just a bunch of guys that hang out and everybody has a specific skill, or if you thought, boy, you can do this, that would be really cool. This is a great kit to kind of share around. I tell people all the time, if you don't have a skill, and it's cool, a lot of people don't have a skill. We all have that friend. And, the whole friend group, when he shows up, he's got a job for everybody. Well, if you're that guy or gal, you can show up with this kit. All of a sudden, you can design people's exhaust for them. Say, here, just go make that. So it's handy to have around just to share around. So, the idea of being able to build custom exhaust for me is exciting for my customers because I see what it adds to their experience with their motorcycle. It's a cool thing.
great. So I think we're going to need it.
Any questions about this? Anybody need to see it closer?
You got
Anybody want to move Nick's blocks from bag to bag so he's got to sort them out later?
centerline radius, inch 3/4 diameter.
It's fun, and Nick's not that nice a guy. I was kidding. No,
The thing is with this process is there's a lot of work to be done, so it's tough. You got to stay focused and do it. I'm normally doing this in my shop, alone. I got the music cranked, the door locked, left alone. So, doing it on stage.
How long would it take you to build a custom exhaust?
It really all depends on how crazy you go. You could do something very simple and it could.
But a 2-into-1 like this.
2-in-1 with a kit like this, I've never used it. So something like this, it could take you like just a few hours. But something like me, it could take me like a day or two just to do something intricate. You want to make sure everything's perfect, a nice fit up, because when you do it stainless, when you start to weld, the stainless will pull in different directions. So it's very crucial to get a very tight fit because you don't want to have like a gap on one side and a tight on the other, because when you go to weld that, it's going to pull to the other side, and when you go to bolt it up, it's not going to fit.
Well, and this is going to be TIG welded, and anybody that's TIG welded know that it's a fairly sterile process. You're going to be very clean. And but TIG welding also doesn't like to fill gaps. You don't take that wire; it doesn't like to fill gaps at all. So this really does allow for you just to have a completely tight exhaust system. I'm a huge fan. I'll give a shout out to a couple of other sponsors. We always like to introduce new products that we find. I happen to be a real fan of this one, not just because it's a re-engineered motorcycle lift by HMC Industries, but it's also from Iowa, where I'm from. So it's a nice Midwestern company. They took over what was the Handy manufacturing facility for Handy lifts that have been around forever. I got 2 of those in my shop now. But these guys redesigned it, have changed the pivot points, the pressure points, redesigned the foot pedal so you got a constant neutral on it. It is the first lift that I've seen that actually has improved motorcycle lift technology in 40 years. And so want to give a good shout out to HMC Industries. The one that we're using, they've allowed us to use here on the Grease and Gears garage stage. And this bike over here, the Paco Roller, Paco's another great partner of ours. They supplied this entire rolling chassis motorcycle, and HMC Industries has given that lift. The winner of the JMP Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show this weekend will be getting a check for $10,000, but we'll also be getting that roller and that lift. And so that's and a 50-gallon barrel of Lucas motorcycle oil. But I just found out that I have to take that barrel of oil with me because I'm friends with the guy, Jeff Nager, that does the show. For some reason, I have to load it in my truck and take it and then ship it to whoever wins it. Might not get there. How much does it cost to ship? I should ask more questions before I volunteer. I'm not even sure I volunteered. Somehow I got commanded. I don't know how that happened. A guy did give me this, though. I don't know. It's a little like a fanny pack. I'll admit it. But there's a guy here, The company here over with Shift, they're selling apparel and stuff. I think I just spit on you. I'm sorry. It's kind of like a kiss, so you're welcome. But it's called U Koala Bag, and it's this motorcycle bag. In the top of it here, it has a gun holster. Now, I realize in Chicago, you need a gun holster. I know that the laws are, but you need a gun holster. My uncle lives here. I was born in Naperville. My uncle's lived here his whole life. He's afraid to go downtown now. Even with packing, he's afraid to go downtown now. But yesterday, I was going to do a thing on stage. But anyway, go see U Koala Bag. They're cool bags. They got they got a pocket for everything. Plus, if a criminal wants to steal what you've got, they know where it's all located, so you don't have to go through the rigmarole of having them roll you in the street. They can just take this off of you, and they got your gun, your money, your ID, everything. So it's really very convenient for the criminals here in Chicago, many of whom I'm sure are here today. Probably, I didn't say it was, yeah, I figured. I could see it in your eye. I did a year in federal prison. It's my con R. You know, people have gaydar, that's my con R, I can tell. But I looked up in history today. Yesterday I was going to do a Today in History thing from stage. 1925 newspaper article was talking about the rise in murders, rapes, and thefts in Chicago in 1925. I don't think it's slowed down. What is, I left Atlanta because Chicago and Atlanta compete for the, murder capital of the country. But what is it about these areas? What is it?
It's the lack of available guns.
Is that what it is?
For the general public.
Somebody's got a lot of guns here because you guys hurt each other a lot. But now, that's why I moved to Des Moines. We had a shooting in Des Moines 2 years ago when I moved there. Downtown in a bar. A guy had pulled his gun out to show his buddy his new gun and shot his buddy in the foot. And it was big news in Des Moines. We had a shooting downtown. And when it finally came out, it wasn't that big a deal. I moved to Des Moines. It's very safe. Very safe place. Where am I?
Keep talking. Keep talking.
I really don't want to. Oh, you getting ready to weld?
No, I'm getting ready to cut something.
Oh, do we have? Oh,
This is trying to keep from hitting people.
This is safety, and the fire marshal in every city we go to dislikes sparks and welding. They don't. Open flame makes them very nervous. So, what? You're just going to protect that one guy?
I had to fix my.
Who are you?
Works.
You're somebody. I don't know. Before you got here, if you weren't, you are now, buddy. They're just worried about you.
Yeah, the
promise.
socket one went.
My flies are.
I protect this guy. That guy's hair might catch on fire. This guy has no fear of that.
He comes up and tells me, hey, your button.
I came the last time I was at this show was 2 years ago, and I've got beautiful hair, don't I? Just say yes. I got beautiful hair. Trust me, it's beautiful. But I came 2 years ago, and had your haircut, sir. I was bald. I caught my head on fire welding about 6 months before the show, and nobody recognized me. It was really cool. I mean, it wasn't cool I caught my head on fire, but I ran my hand, safety second at Sin Central Garage. I ran my hand through my hair and had diesel fuel on it, didn't realize it, got under a truck doing some rust repair. That thing, sucker went off. My dog is named Diesel. He's my shop foreman, Diesel the shop foreman. He was under the truck with me trying to help. He was licking at my head. I think he was fanning the flame. I couldn't get out. It was pinned. Even though I'm this thin, it's hard to get out from under vehicles when you get there. I don't know what they're doing now. Chris, what are you doing? Oh, Nick.
What we're doing right now is there's a stock exhaust mount on this twin cam. We're gonna crank that right off because it's in the way of the spot where we're gonna actually put the front header.
Oh, real good.
Yeah. So we're about to sling some sparks right now.
That's cool. Making sparks is cool.
Right there. Yep.
It's my favorite.
My favorite. They can get sparks on camera too, so that makes sense. You can see the sparks there. You guys could be cool and hang out with me. I mean, probably not you. I don't know. That was a little bit of an overstatement for you, sir. No, I'm sorry. That's good. You guys work for Indian? And you're drinking on the job. I like that. I want to work for Indian now. They won't let us drink on the job here. I mean, we did the first show, and then we were informed we can't drink on stage. All right, Woo! Sparks cutting, man stuff. Or woman stuff if you're into that. Not gonna.
That was easy.
That was easy.
That kid, he saw Sparks and heard yelling, and we got to go.
This is to protect you from Pat.
It's kind of sexy though, right? It's like a go-go dancer.
So what do I want to do?
All right, so you got that out of the way. You guys are coming up with a design here?
Right, so we're leading out of the exhaust. You know, we got stuff like this oil pressure cylinder we need to avoid in case they're going to run one. The bracket was in the way because we want to try to keep that pipe up here nice and tight. So, you know, when they're cornering, we don't have any kind of interference, ground clearance. Because our muffler, if you want to show us where the muffler is, this is going to dictate where we kind of run our pipe across the bottom. So, in a sense, we want to try to intersect this location right here. In order to do that, when we come down out of a primary, we have to assume that we have to avoid all this fun stuff, get down to a point to where our height makes sense to where we can cut straight across into here. And it really looks like we'll be able to come down maybe another inch or so, and maybe just take a 2-inch, 3-inch centerline bend right here at a particular angle, because this is not quite vertical, which is actually great because if you look at the difference between here and there, we have about a 90-degree intersect, so we'd be able to take a portion of a bend here and create that intersect so that we shoot right into that. So what we do here might really dictate where that ends up to begin with.
I mean, already you can see that
Another straight.
This process has cut hours off of this task. I mean, at this point, typically in a shop environment, you can see that's a very complex bend they've got going. You've tried to tape pieces together. You know, maybe you've tacked them together if you think you've guessed really well, but up to that point, this is really a guessing game. I mean, now, exhaust manufacturers will CAD design. They've got the motors in there. They can in a program like SolidWorks can draw out an exhaust system, and they have CNC benders, and they put a straight piece of tube in there, and it just bends it out. Obviously, if you're doing one-off exhaust, even if you found a company that has that equipment, you're going to end up with a $3,000, $4,000 exhaust system. So this has taken tons of time off of the act of making a custom exhaust. The bike that they're putting this exhaust on is called War Pony. It is a bike that we are building, the Grease and Gears Garage crew, Chris and Mark, pretty much. Yep,
and then go ahead.
I poked myself in my thumb earlier. I'm not at the shop, so I'm here just using my mouth hole tool this weekend. But they've got a Paco frame that's an FXR style frame, which will take the drivetrain, the motor and transmission, out of a dresser, a Harley Davidson dresser, bolts right into that. Chris Callen, the owner, founder, editor of Cycle Source magazine, built Cycle Source magazine on one motorcycle. It was a 2003 Harley Davidson Ultra Classic. He had 250,000 miles on it. He rode all over the country, selling magazines, getting advertisers, shooting feature bikes, doing tech articles, and he rode that bike all over the country. Unfortunately, he loaned it to a friend, got T-boned. The friend didn't get hurt very much. The bike got totaled. What do you do with a 2003 with a hot motor and a 6-speed transmission? Well, you don't put it back together. It's not worth it with a salvage title. So he bought the bike back. So that bike, however, one of its last big trips was the Hokahay race. It was a motorcycle race. You've heard of it, from Key West, Florida to Alaska. And you rode about 1,000 miles a day. You would ride to a destination. At that next destination, they had directions that were printed out for you. It wasn't like your next stop is this town. So you had to look for Highway 24, so you had to. And so Chris rode that, but Hokahay race was designed to raise money for the Lakota tribe who was having a problem with their water system on their reservation. And so the winner of that race got $500,000. It raised much more than that and helped to further the cause of water on the reservation. But Chris took it was called Black Pearl, was the name of his big black Ultra Classic. He took that and he painted it up like Crazy Horse's War Pony. He had all those symbols on there. So the idea behind this bike, War Pony, is to do the same thing and to paint it up so it commemorates kind of that ride. And we've taken the soul out of Black Pearl and are putting it in War Pony to kind of give it new life. So, but that is, War Pony is gonna, it's right here, Chris. Did you want that microphone? Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Callen, owner, editor, founder, Cycle Source Magazine.
He says that like it's so exciting.
It is to me, because I got it on my shirt.
Right? I even got a patch this week.
I saw that. Is it on your coat, though? We've got Grease and Gears Garage Dickies, and I think I got the only one with a Cycle Source patch.
So the best part about this whole thing he was telling you guys is this year we're going to Bonneville with it. That's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
If you guys, how many people ever been to Bonneville Salt Flats?
It's where all the land speed records are set, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, you can watch that movie 100 times and be so excited about somebody doing land speed racing and everything else. The first time you ever watch a sunrise or a sunset at Bonneville, it will completely change your life. Has nothing to do with, I mean, the motorcycles are great. The people that you meet out there is great. It's history, but man, there is something about Bonneville Salt Flats and being there. There's so much energy that comes through that place. It's such a special place that just going there is fun. Then the fact of getting to ride a motorcycle is something else entirely.
You know, Chris, when we started this build, the bike was not going to Bonneville Salt Flats. I think it was the second show, Chris started seeing it come together, and he announced on stage that it was going to Bonneville Salt Flats with his wife sitting in the audience. For those of you who don't know, Bonneville Salt Place is a place where a lot of people have achieved great things. It's also a place where a lot of people have met their end.
You know, and I work with my wife every day. I've found out it's a lot easier to come up with cool things to do
in public
when you make it part of your job and you announce that in public, because it's, yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right, Chris, where are we? Put it up there and let us see it.
Mike. So we want to make these pieces now. We've assembled what we're going to do in order to get out this exhaust. It's all just a little bit tweakable as far as how the model's going to go, but essentially we're going to have two pieces of 1.75 We're going to have one bend. So this is where you win. You're able to say, okay, I need these pieces. Now what are they? You're able to look at what your material supply is based on how many pieces you have, dedicate that to like a worksheet, which is somewhere floating around in the box, right here. So you're able to take this little graph, put on there how many pieces for each one. So this is front pipe. So this is the 1.75 3-inch centerline piece. So I'm going to go to the 3-inch centerline radius template right here, and I'm going to write front 1. That'd be the front piece. This far is one continuous piece that's going to get cut off. And I would make sure to check off each one of these. I would like write the number 1 in each one of those little boxes so that it says 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and that's front number 1. Well, this would be front number 2, front number 3. And when you have these bends, you realize there's only that much straight on it. So obviously we're going to need a little bit more straight out of another piece. So we'll cut that off the side of another bend or a piece that we have dropped sitting in the box in order to create that extension so that we can come back and hit the muffler. So this gives us about what we need. We're going to go ahead and set up the cut template in the saw and dedicate these pieces. One thing I like to do we have any tape?
Yes.
Art? So before I mess this up, because, and also like with like building card houses or anything else, you know, you like drop something,
Or those,
it falls apart. It's kind of sad. You got to start all over. You want to try to be really careful when you pull your model off. They're pretty rigid. They stay in place. Excuse the mess.
Yeah.
I'll take a piece of tape. And everywhere there's an intersection, like I said, there's a center line mark all the way across the back of these. So here's where my intersection is on this piece. And I have an orientation. I need to be able to check the model at some point and make sure that I'm doing this correctly.
Yeah.
So I'll put a little piece of tape on here. On the outlet side, take my marker, and where the center line mark is on the next group, that's not the right location, Nick. Move that back down. Where the center line mark is on the next group, I'll put a little leader mark here so I know that that's the orientation of the next tubing. This one's straight, it's not going to make any difference. So at least where the two segments intertwine there, I know that I have them labeled so that if I had to remodel it on the bike, because I don't know what I'm doing, I'll be able to take this off, set it on the table, hand it to him to have it cut, And if I need to look and maybe re-justify some of this stuff on a bike after we make the first piece and make it perfect and it fits the way we like it, we need to put this back on here. I've got this mark right here. I'm able to line it back up like that. Take it back to the bike and say, yeah, it fits, you know, so it gives us the orientation.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is that I hadn't seen you do that before. Is that a redundant mark just so that you know where it's at?
Absolutely, because you're going to take these apart to go to your cut templates, to go to the saw, and then back to the bike again. It just lets you kind of reassess it. Like just now I noticed we had 2 pieces that weren't lined up correctly, so we're going to have to re-justify the model a little bit right before we make a cut.
Was that Nick's fault?
That's a joint effort. So again, we make sure that all these pieces line up, and he did that earlier, and it was just a combination of both of us hee-hawing around, watching Pat dance behind the red curtain.
I was born at just the right time. I
And
could have been
I think I just
the Michael Jackson. My parents
Let's
didn't
get a
push me
piece
hard
of tape.
enough.
And what I like to do is I'll tape.
I needed a Joe Jackson in my life.
Play my outlet.
I mean, my dad hit me a lot and hit me hard. It just wasn't for a purpose. It's pretty much just walking through the house.
I'm going to start with a 1 3/4, 3-inch centerline radius. I'm going to give this to Nick while I tape our model up so that I can give it to him. He can get set up on a bandsaw.
All right,
Normally
now
we're in a shop. We have a couple of workbenches. This isn't so compiled to a small little weld table, which, by the way, they're fabulous. Available at weldtables.com.
Are we at a place where we can invite somebody else up to kind of do this part?
We are. If we know somebody.
This guy, he
somebody-
was in prison making license plates. Come here.
Somebody confident
I mean, you
enough
can't
to
say no, then you
run a
just look
bandsaw.
like an ass. So, not
let me
supposed
mark
to
our
say that.
first piece.
You look as though you didn't want to. I can do this. I can do this.
Okay, as you make your way up to the stage, we're just going to ask for an audio acceptance of the terms of being on stage. If something happens, if it blows up and you get hurt, you don't care. You're not going to sue anybody.
Maybe.
There you go.
Sorry, I
We got
I
a
could not hear
solid
that.
maybe.
That did not register publicly.
He said maybe.
Well, let me hear that again.
Maybe.
We need
So
a
we
yes
got a
or no,
50-50 shot to not be sued if we blow
if
them up.
if you sue somebody, sue me. You're going to get a pocket full of gravel.
All right, we're going to start with this piece here. Now, we know that we only need a couple of pieces of straight here, and we need this much radius. So again, we'll take this piece.
What's your name?
Tony.
You got to say it in there. Nobody knows.
Tony.
Talk close like you're going to eat it.
Tony.
That way they can hear you.
His name's Tony.
His name's Tony.
All right, so we're going to line the center line up of that cut according to where we're going to run the bandsaw blade through, tighten this up. That's going to give us the orientation we need for the very first cut. Cinch that up about as tight as you can. Put this piece on here. You're going to want to hold it rigid against the plate while you're feeding and holding the tubing. The tubing will be pushed against this by the blade, so it's really not going to go anywhere. You're going to very slowly cut. We don't have a fence on there, so your straightness, how much did you have to drink last night? Anything?
Nope. Nothing.
Okay, so we hope for the straightest cut possible. You want to try to aim for the middle of this bolt, through the center of this slot. That's going to give us the cut we need to start our job. So Nick, if you would.
Am I cutting
Tony?
or is he?
Oh, he's cutting it. You're going
what
to
am I
assist
doing
him.
this
for him.
whole time?
This is a group effort.
This
Right.
is like at Misfit Industries. Chris has people that carry the things to the bandsaws for
Well,
them.
no, actually I have a group of people. So I have a person that has a cart. They hold the cart while somebody takes something from my table to the cart.
Oh.
Then I have an intermediary that speaks to them about what's going to happen as they walk to the saw.
So you've
Someone
got a
to plug
government
the saw
shop.
in, and then talk about what speed the saw is going to be
Yeah.
at, and then how that blade's going to be applied to the material.
Yeah, my shop's very similar.
And those
Except I'm
people
that
by the
one. I'm
name-
all those people.
You know who all those people's name is?
Chris.
Moos.
Moos.
Yes.
Yep, that's
all
it.
right, so it's just one of us. But actually, we do have a great group of guys at Misfit Industries. I do a lot of the fabrication, product development, stuff like that, but, we've got a great team. We've got support in shipping and receiving. We have sales. And obviously, we have administration. We got shop manager as well, but, in the shop, we have a couple of mechanics. Our operations manager also is a really good mechanic. We're all work as a team in order to make this stuff happen. And, if somebody's doing something and we need help, obviously, we try to lend help where we can in the shop.
Again, if you're just joining us on Facebook Live or if you're just kind of showing up now, we're Grease and Gears Garage, just mechanics. There's nothing fancy here. We're trying to demystify what it's like to be in a custom motorcycle shop, demystify the tooling and some of the process. Today we got Moos and Nick building a custom exhaust system on stage for our War Pony. Jackie, tell the fine folks also what you got going on in Progressive Parlor.
Hey friends, if you are just now joining us over here at the parlor, we are in the middle of a super rock and roll Monday morning here. Super busy already right out of the gate. It's not even noon. Make sure you stop by, get yourself signed up for your chance to win our grand prize giveaway motorcycle. We're giving away that beautiful BMW from Disowned Customs. If you want to win that beautiful bike, all you got to do is get signed up with my lovely Progressive girls with the iPads in their hands. And when you do so, I'm going to throw in a free t-shirt just for entering that great contest. I got to tell you, Chicago is very, very, very busy. We will absolutely run out of shirts. So come here now, get signed up to win the bike, take home a free t-shirt. It's all totally free. It's all totally awesome. It's all totally brought to you, courtesy of America's #1 rated motorcycle insurance company. That's us over here at Progressive Motorcycle Insurance.
This is our fault.
All right, thank you, Jackie. We are, one of the things, you know, and Moose had mentioned it, we're dealing with stainless. Stainless is a little bit of a different metal. It's hard.
19th an inch we got there.
And so right now we're checking out our bandsaw blade. We've been cutting mild steel, a lot of mild steel over the last 5 shows. So we're checking out what the bandsaw blade looks like.
Unwind it.
Nick will now take the bandsaw blade and sharpen it tooth by tooth with a file.
I normally use a chainsaw. What do you use a file?
Well,
why didn't I think of that?
I don't know.
Well, one of the things that we deal with too is working on the road. We got a number of different things we'll do, and not being prepared. This is our fault for not having the right blade and bandsaw, so we're going to change that out real quick so we can actually cut this tubing. And if it's not the right blade, we're just going to cut it by hand, old school way. We're going to talk about how to use the tool and use this to achieve our goals.
This is part of why we do Grease and Gears Garage, because there's this, you know, TV is kind of, I don't know, it's got its place, whatever. But you don't, it's like cooking shows. I love to cook. I love to bake. I know that's kind of a surprise. Pound cakes are my specialty.
So we need to write this down.
I make a killer pound cake. But, you know, you can watch a cooking show and say, oh, I can do that, right? And then you all of a sudden start doing it. Well, they didn't show me that. They didn't say that could happen. I didn't know it was going to blow the batter all over the kitchen. There's a sense now with shows that where you're building cars and motorcycles on TV that a lot of people will get into projects and they get in over their head really quick, or they feel like they're over their head because something goes wrong and they weren't prepared for it. This happens in a shop every day. That's why we do Grease and Gears Garage. Not everything works perfectly every time. You got to remember to adjust for things. So, you know, and again, I said a little while ago, we're trying to demystify this process of customizing motorcycles. It's a long process. It's a patient process. And everybody that's been on this stage, some of the best builders in the world have graced the Grease and Gears Garage stage over the last 2 years. Every one of them in their shops has piles of scrap material from mistakes that they've made. We've had guys make mistakes on stage, you know. It's part of what happens, you know. And so this is just a kind of a tooling issue where we're going to reblade the saw so that we can get a sharper blade on there. Chris, did you explain that sheet to them?
I'm working on that right now, as a matter of fact. I'm going to draw this and then I'm going to explain it. So for the worksheet, typically, like, we need to use these pieces to model the other tubing. We're limited on how many pieces we have. We only have 36 inches. I kind of don't like to use every single piece in the kit if I don't have to. So you have a lot more to put up. But what I'll do is, like, I need to use these modeling blocks. So I can just go take them apart and throw them away. The orientation is something that I have to dictate on paper, which is a little more challenging. But what I'll do is I'll take, like, those 2 segments with the indice on it, and I'll leave it there. And I'll write on it, this is my first pipe. So I'll leave that alone because I can make this model again and go, that lines up with those marks. I can make this again. I can put it back together. And on this piece of paper, I write down, I got 1, 2, 3 straight sections here. So I'll write the number 1 in those 3 straight sections. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 curved sections. So I'll put a 1 inside each one of those. I'll put a little F1 pipe because it's the front pipe 1. This is the outlet portion. I only tape, personally, this is what makes sense to me, the outlet portion is marked. So then I will also take on my paper and I draw a little arrow. It shows which way that the exhaust is going to flow on that piece of paper. That way I know which way the model faces when I go to put it back together later, if I'm going to make it for somebody else, if I'm going to put it back together later. If I started this on a Saturday and I come back to it on Thursday and I need to figure it back out and somebody grabbed the kit, like personally what I would do is I take this right here and I go put this in my toolbox and hide it, and then someone just complains that they don't have enough of these, maybe. But either way, that allows me to go back to my model and re-justify everything so that I know that I can.
Well, if it's like my shop, or really any shop, you could design an entire exhaust system and have it laid out beautifully, and you're going to come back. And in my shop, somebody, inevitably, one of my buddies is going to come through, and for no reason whatsoever, he's going to disassemble them, and he's going to build an igloo or something out of those blocks, even though it was shaped like an exhaust system that had not yet been built. He's going to come and disassemble it. So if you write it down, after you get done kicking his, as if he had just done that, see, I saved that one. You can go back to the sheet and you can reassemble it pretty well.
Another thing too, so this is on this chart, it says 2-inch, 3-inch, and centerline radius with 6-inch legs, which is typically what you end up with when you buy a U-bend. You don't have to buy 90s, you don't have to buy 45s or anything, you just use U-bends and straight segments if you have a lot of straight pipe. So because it doesn't dictate the diameter on here, it's really important too that when you say this is F1, F2, F3, well, my F1, F2, my first and second pipe on the front head, they're 1 3/4 inch, and then my third pipe is all 2-inch. So inside these, I will write 1.75, 1.75, 2.0. So I know that I've got the right amount of material. And another thing too is like, I've spread it out pretty good. But what's nice is you're able to say, this piece required 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of arc. This required 3. You take this, you put that together, and you're like, that's not even 180 degrees. So that means that technically I can make that out of this one piece. That's where the cost effectiveness, that's where the efficiency comes in, because you're able to actually say, I only need to buy one of these.
Because what you're going to do is,
instead of 2.
It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. What inevitably people do is, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to build a whole exhaust system, so I'm going to get 4 of these. And then I'm going to buy 3. You'll end up with $400 of material really quick, and you only needed $150 worth of material. Well, what do you do with that extra material? Well, if you're like me, you put it back in the box, you find the address. No, you don't send it back and get your money. You don't do that. You go and you say, okay, I'm going to put this over here and I'm going to use it the next time. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh man, I can't find that stuff. So then you order 4 of these, and and someday when you die, your children retire off of all of your brand new stainless that you never use. So this really is going to save you money. It's going to cut costs making custom exhaust systems by, I would think overage, you're probably going to save 60% on exhaust.
Easily.
Easy.
And it also comes down to this. You're able to model it up in plastic first, make your chart, look at it, and say, okay, I need 1, 2, 3 bends. I thought I needed 4 or 5, and you're going to save yourself 70, 140, 200 freaking dollars sometimes building exhaust.
Yeah.
There's an exhaust I built for a customer. It's a touring bike. It's a long 2-into-1 pipe, comes all the way, it's all around the freaking motor, curls around by the back head, and dumps out equal length. And that's another thing too. You're trying to create a performance aspect for the pipe too. Like currently, what we're doing, we have this long front head tube. We're going to use a larger majority of 1 3/4 tubing by length in order to create a restriction at the front side of the pipe, whereas on the back side, we're going to use less 1 3/4 tubing and introduce 2-inch sooner so that we can increase the flow of it and reduce the back pressure on the back head so we can kind of balance that out. And then we're able to tune that in later when we dyno the bike. But it's something you can do to try to at least preemptively create flow characteristics.
And that's
going to help
when you
the bike.
hear people throw phrases around all the time like "I love you" and
"You're my best friend."
No, I really wanted you.
Beers
you
on
weren't an accident.
me.
Beers on me.
It's always a lie.
Those kinds of things.
Lie.
But one of the things we throw around in the car and motorcycle thing is tuned headers. You know, you hear that all the time. That's what he's talking about. You know, you're just trying
to slow that down.
Exhaust coming out of the heads of a car or a motorcycle or a tractor or whatever. The exhaust needs to be have the same amount of back pressure. You're trying to equalize that. Typically, the easiest way to do that is to make them the same length. You know, so that's why you'll see on staggered dual pipes, the one pipe's longer. That's why, because they tuned it so there's equal back pressure. You know, when you're doing custom exhaust, if you want to do that, you just put a loop in it, you know, and it'll kind of do the same thing because it's restricting that exhaust.
So let's recap back in New York.
Let's recap.
What did I do back in New York?
Yes, Nick. What did? Oh, on stage.
Besides try to weld your cup to the table.
Look at this. Can you guys get a shot of that? Nick was in New York building stuff, and he and Chris Callen, said, "Hey, it'd be funny while you're up there if you welded Pat's Sin Central Yeti to the table." So Nick, of course, being the smart guy he is, has the TIG welder up so that he can build a battleship. Quarter-inch material he could have welded, and he blew a hole right in the bottom of my Yeti.
I don't remember that.
Friends. So go back to New York.
I remember doing it.
Beyond ruining my cup, what did you do with the exhaust?
So pretty much we made this 2-in-1 merge muffler at the IMS show in New York. We started with you know, the megaphone, then we have a reverse cone, and then the 2-inch 2-in-1 merge. So pretty much what we did is there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces just in this one piece. After New York, I tacked it up back in New York. I fully welded this, and right before the show, I did a final polish on it, so you don't see any welds. A lot of people like to leave their welds. I do on some cases, but this one, it just looks so damn nice to have it nice and clean. So it's all one piece. You know, it doesn't look like it's, you know, a bunch of...
And you can go back, like I said earlier, if you just joined us, we're Facebook Live in this, so it'll also live forever in indignity. But you can see it on, well, you can go to YouTube, Grease and Gears Garage YouTube channel. You can go to CycleSource.com. JMP Cycles, our great partner, the world's largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts. You can go to MotorcycleShows.com, which is the official page for Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. And you can check out Nick's segment on building that particular end.
It's very simple. You can do this at your home with just, you know, simple tools. Pretty much the most expensive thing you really need is a welder. This one's out of stainless. You could always do it out of steel and powder coated if you didn't want to go that route. What's great about this is actually a performance muffler. It's not like a straight through header, you know, straight pipes. This actually has a built-in muffler. So there's perforated stainless tube in there with a matte glass, fiberglass pack, you know, wrapped it around and then safety wired.
So it is an interesting thing if you're into motorcycles at all and interested in exhaust at all. Nick actually made all of that in, I mean, he didn't perforate the stainless in there. I mean, he did not make the matting, but he did cut it all to size and put it all in there for
And I mean, you still see right through it. It's not like there's any restrictions at all, but you're getting that power out of it.
Right.
So.
Nice piece.
I'm really excited to see this.
Where do you get the pieces in order to put that together?
Okay, so there's a lot of different companies around the U.S. One that I find to be the best would be SPD. They're out of California. One of the things that I look for when I order stainless or exhaust tubing is marring. You know, when they do these bends, obviously this is done in like a manual bender, so sometimes there'll be like clamp marks that you actually have to grind or polish out, and it could take, you know, a 4-8 hour job, and you know, times it very quick, you know, so it's very critical to find, you know, what company actually sells good product that actually, you know, is not going to cost you any more time in the long run.
You can go to your local auto parts store and buy tubing, but typically that tubing, if you want to see what he's talking about in terms of marring, because it's mostly going to be used underneath cars, nobody's ever going to see it. That tubing isn't the highest quality tubing. They're never going to have stainless either. But
the other thing you want to watch out for too is like aluminum pipes with coating on it. You definitely don't want to be welding anything with a coating on it, because then you can get sick or potentially die.
Yeah.
But definitely, you know, I would check out SPD. if you plan on tackling your own exhaust system.
SPD.
In all reality, you don't need like a big kit like this to do this stuff. We're just doing it so we can model it. Just because we have a lot of things going on this bike, you got a rear set for your foot control, so we got to make sure we're able to clear all that. So yeah, I think they were about to get ready to cut some tubing here pretty soon.
One of the things, too, on your stock bike, if you're going to make a custom exhaust system for your stock bike, one of the things that will help you immensely as well, if you know that you're not going to use that stock exhaust that's already on there, and it's kind of going in the general direction that you want it to go, that gets you ahead of the game, too, because you can lop that off, use some part of your headers off, and use that, too. So, I mean, that can get you ahead of the game. Yes, Christopher.
I was just over talking with Moos, and he wanted me to come ask you how you're doing on those pipes.
On the pipe?
Yeah.
Tony is super impatient. He's like, you guys are slowing me down.
Well, I did the 2-inch centerline radius.
Yes, where is the
Oh, it's right here.
piece?
He's right here.
All right, well, we need to go back over there. And
All right,
see if we
Tony,
can get that
now
down.
it's your time to shine.
Yeah.
Set down.
All right,
the speed
Tony
to the
screwed up the
company.
blade on the other blade, so now we're going to get him. Hopefully, no.
Hey, but he did it efficiently.
He's
That
going to
was
use that thing as a frisbee.
Did you slow
the
it
most
down?
important. We did. We slowed it down. We changed blades. Brand new blade.
That's kind of a good. Well, I'll let you talk about. Talk to us about blade speed on a bandsaw and why it seems illogical, but you would slow a blade down to cut steel.
Well, everything has speeds and feeds. So whether it's a saw blade, whether it's a drill bit, whether it's an end mill or something like that, you get guys that complain about breaking drill bits all the time. And I had this conversation with my Snap-on dealer recently. He's like, yeah, I don't warranty drill bits. Like, good, because that's stupid.
Yeah.
I would want them to warranty drill bits. That way I can take my helpers' drill bits that are broken and get new ones. But you can only cut so much material with a given tooth. And that tooth is designed by width and length and pitch in order to scalp a little bit of material off at a time. Basically, you have all these little knife blades that are gliding around. It's a saw blade. So each one of those blades has a certain strength and width. That dedicates how fast it can remove material. So you need to slow it down or speed it up depending on whether or not it's stainless or mild steel. With the stainless being that it's so hard, you need to cut less of it, slower, over a greater period of time.
Because if you take stainless and feed it into a fast bandsaw.
But the difference is this too.
Go ahead.
Is that you have to have the right blade material to cut stainless.
Cut stainless.
So in this particular instance, we don't have the right blade on stage because we decided we were making a stainless exhaust. These guys weren't prepared for it because we didn't explain it to them, so that's our fault for not voicing what we needed to them. But what we're going to do is we're going to use our template, and I'm going to actually show Nick real quick on what we can do to draw that center line on that piece of tubing using our template in order to make exactly the cut we want. And where that comes into play, Nick, by the way, to cheat that, where are our clamps at? So we'll take the clamps that we use for welding, and this is the I ran out of bandsaw blades fix. You can take this because this is a nice round circle and it'll fit around the radius of your tubing. You can slip that in place and dedicate your cut point and mark this all the way around using your clamp to wing it like we're about to because we don't have the right blade.
But the other side of this is I'm glad this has happened because
Nick,
how many of you have a bandsaw in your
Nick,
garage?
You need this.
Exactly. Not everybody's got a bandsaw, and sometimes we take for granted, well, my CNC machine, and, it's like not everybody's got, I don't have a CNC machine. Moos has a CNC machine. Moos has like 17 CNC machines. I don't have those. I really don't even know what a CNC machine does. I do know what they do because he's got them and I use them. But this is going to give them the opportunity to show the rest of the world how you do this if you don't have a bandsaw. Because again, not everybody has that particular tool. And if you're not doing this for a living, not having to buy a tool, otherwise, get somebody else to build it for you, you're going to end up, if you had to buy all the tools and everything, and then it's not cost effective. Tony, good job. Tony, hey, a big hand for Tony being willing to be called out of the audience to not do anything. I'm sorry. I tried. But about 60,000 people just saw you give it your best on Facebook Live, so I'm sorry I bored you.
Hey,
I know I'm good. I can't figure out how I bored you.
Speaking of Facebook
Oh,
Live,
I'm hungry.
Are we up and live? We are?
That actually means you're on the radius.
Let's check in with some of the people from Facebook.
That's Heather Callan. That's Chris's wife. Chris had the flu last week, and I think he's giving it to Heather, so do not kiss Heather if she's walking through the building. It's probably a good idea anyway. Not that she's not a good, I don't know if she's a good kid, just don't kiss her. You got us? All right. I give a couple of shout outs here. Some of these folks we know. We got Rebecca Cunningham, Running Rabbits Productions. Hey, if you guys need anything done with any kind of video or production stuff, Running Rabbits Productions, she does a great job. She used to be in the television world, and now she's just a biker chick. She rides her Dyna. She lives in a school bus that she's converted to a camper, and she goes all over the country, either riding her bike or driving that bus and doing documentaries and stuff. Joan Simmons, that's nice. Pat Jansen, you so crazy. Jones with Kirsch helmets. They're here at the show someplace. George Stinsman is watching. Georgie boy.
Chaos Cycle, right? George?
Chaos Cycle. George was on our stage in New York City. George has a really cool triple tree set that he's designed that allows you to put GSXR fork tubes, bolt them right to any Harley. So check him out at Chaos Cycles. He may or may not get them to you. I've been trying to get a price from him for a couple of sets now since New York City. So pretty soon he's just going to have to send me 2 sets for free. Hey, David Wasserman, thanks for watching. Hey now. Carlos Amador. Buenos dias, Cycle Source Familia. Buenos dias, Carlos. He's got daily drivers out of Denver, Colorado. He's a good guy. Alva Leisure is watching. What else we got? Mailman Kevin O'Brien, working in the movies down in Atlanta, Georgia. So Heather, do you want to keep watching that, or you want me to keep it up here? I'll forget about it. Here, I'll set it there. Man, they've got 3 cameras on me, and they say a camera adds 10 pounds, so it's actually adding 30 pounds to me. So if you look at me right now and I look fat, it's because there's 3 cameras on me. So it's not me. I'm 6 inches too short. Anybody else feel my pain? I used to be so good looking. I don't know what happened. I don't really have to be good looking anymore because I'm funny and witty. Very clever. And I'm rich, Mike. That's not true. That's not true. I'm going to see what they're doing. It's like a powwow back here. Shh.
Everybody's going to come then.
We're actually just talking about you.
You were talking about me?
Yeah. We're saying how to grow a beard like that, man.
Oh, yeah? I grow this for all the men that can't. I do it.
I cut mine to get out of that group.
I know. Well, I've had mine for a long time. Man, I was in a bar about 15 years ago in Atlanta.
Keep that speed up and keep them straight.
I'm a wide open guy. Not a lot bothers me. Atlanta's got a very large gay community there. Huge, big, fun gay pride parade. But, I'm heterosexual. But I'm sitting in a bar, and I'm dressed like I dress, right? And all of a sudden, all these young guys start buying me beers. Now, about once a month, when I was short on cash and I was out drinking in Atlanta, I would stop by a bar called Mary's, which is a gay bar, because the guys in there would buy me drinks because they thought I was cute, right? They figured they'd flip me. I'd be a bear. But I'd go in and get free drinks. I got to be a woman for a night. I loved it. Guys, you got to try it. If you get short on cash at the end of the month, go to a gay bar. They'll buy you drinks. You can be a woman for a night. You know what it's like to drink for free. But anyway, all these guys started buying me drinks. And it turned out, my old lady at the time told me, she said, "You're like the godfather of hipsters." It bothered me because I'm not a big fan of those people. But, the guys that wear the tight jeans and the Chucks. I wear Chuck Taylors or these Red Wing boots all the time. and I got the beard, so it was right at the cusp of that. But I thought all these guys were hitting on me. I kind of felt bad when I found out they weren't, but they were buying me drinks. So I've had this beard a long time. I'm ready. Chris cut his big one off. I'm ready for the beard phase to go away so that I can have my look back. So I'm ready not to have everybody have a beard anymore. Chris, are they getting it? Are we gonna Moose, did you show people how to mark that? You did, or you're going to?
Oh boy, wrong one.
Yes, I did.
Did you see how to mark that?
So that was the wrong one.
Did you? I didn't. He lied to me, didn't he? Just want to make sure.
I did it. I didn't do that. Yeah.
Makes me nervous when they get like the witches around the cauldron back there. I'm never exactly sure. Crystal, do you need to get up and do this for him?
Yeah, why don't you stop?
Crystal is with, we still don't know why.
Crystal helped.
Moose's boyfriend.
Crystal helped me do this in Dallas, actually.
Yeah, she did. She came up. She did all the welding. Yeah, when you were helping, this went.
Oh, well, then bring yourself up here, sweetheart.
Crystal, I would like you to come up, though, and share about, well, there's a microphone. You can do it from down there. Yeah. Share with us kind of a little bit about what you're doing
about that
in Texas with motorcycle missions.
Yeah, that is.
F1. Yeah.
You can hop up here. Do you need help? I'll grab you by the ears.
So that one's pretty much, can we still use it?
Oh, yeah. Crystal Hess, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't expecting this, so I run a nonprofit out of Austin, Texas called Motorcycle Missions, and we are a 501c3 that teaches veterans and first responders struggling with PTSD how to build motorcycles. And we have one that won the freestyle class last week in Dallas, and it's over in the championship round. Hopefully we'll win. Not sure if we will. There's some really amazing competition out there. So, but yeah, we had 8 veterans on a little board tracker build back there. If you get a chance to go check it out. We've done 4 builds in just 1 year. So it's been really exciting. And then we also have a motocross camp that we host for the vets so that they can get out and ride. And
it's really a pretty cool deal, you know. I mean, the motorcycle community is such a given community anyway, but it really is amazing to hear the stories of the veterans that you're working with and how motorcycle missions is impacting them. And of course, Moos has been a huge help through Misfit Industries, being able to help fabricate and teach that and help those builds come together. So that's been really nice.
Yeah, and actually going on right now in Austin, we have a welding class. So there's a welding class going on right this minute in Austin. There's 8 guys that are all learning how to weld.
Thank you, Lincoln Electric.
Yeah, thank you, Lincoln Electric, and Weld Tables.
And Weld Tables.
And Voodoo Vintage. So, yep, so we've got a lot going on.
Yeah, got a lot going on. So you're doing good work out there in Austin. I am glad to see that Moose has finally put Nick to work.
Do you have a good insurance policy? Just curious.
No, I don't. Insurance? Somebody has insurance, certainly, with this show. Wouldn't you assume? We're not going to finish. That bandsaw slowed us up. Hey, Moose, you got 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Can you finish it in 5 minutes?
Okay.
You guys, you just joining us. We're on Facebook Live here, and we appreciate you guys joining us. We're also here just to invite you into our garage. This is Grease and Gears Garage. Builders from around the country. Chris, Mark, and Heather and I travel around with tools, invite our friends up here to give you a little slice in the life of what it looks like in a custom motorcycle shop. We got Chris Moos from Misfit Industries in Dallas. We got Nick Beaulieu from Portland, Maine, from Forever Two Wheels, Maine, up here. And they're building, they're showing us how to use a new system that Misfit Industries carries that's built for them by ICE Engines about how to develop a custom exhaust for your motorcycle. So had a little bit of an issue with a bandsaw earlier. So because we didn't have the correct blade, we're working with stainless steel, which is a harder material than what we assume the exhaust is going to be made out of. It's going to make a much prettier exhaust in the end. So we're not disappointed because War Pony is going to end up with a really high-end exhaust system on it. But basically, you can see this. And if you've just joined us, go back, because it's on Facebook Live, we're recording this. You can go to motorcycleshows.com, JNP site, which is the official site for Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. You can go to jnpcycles.com. They've got a great new gal there named Madison. Is doing that, putting this up for us, and they're a great partner for us. Or you can go to Cycle Source magazine. They're running this feed, and we'll have that. This is our 6th show in the 7-show series for Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. We've been doing Grease and Gears Garage for 2 years, however, at rallies and stuff. So it becomes a really good resource for you to be able to go and look and see professional builders show you how to narrow a fuel tank, how to build one from scratch, how to build custom exhaust, how to build your own handlebars, how to customize parts, how to do all those things that seem like when you see them on TV, oh, I could never do that. So we work through that and really help people see how to do that. So you can also... They were right, God is a woman. And she's very concerned about our schedule.
Whenever, even though we might run out of time here throughout the rest of the day, we're going to be doing segments and we'll have them.
Right on. So, as is typical, I told you this, who have hung out here is like Tony. We've been here since the beginning, a lot of you have. Typical in a garage, we invite you in the garage, you see it, you run into, we gave them, to build a custom exhaust system in my shop in Iowa, it's going to take me 2.5, 3 days. Here, this system that they've shown in this, with being able to model it differently out of basically cool motorcycle Legos, you can shorten that to about a day. But basically, we gave them 8-10 hours worth of work to do in an hour and a half. But throughout the day in our other segments, you can check these monitors. We'll have them up here, and they're going to be working on this. And this exhaust will just continue to develop throughout the day. So we do want you to check back with us. Chris, I haven't overstepped. You will be back and kind of be able to do this throughout our other segments.
Yeah.
You got to work till you get the job done, Chris.
I also need to go vote, which if any of you guys noticed all the bikes out here on the red carpet, we like to come out here, part of this competition, friendly, all of us builders. We've got bikes, obviously, in the championship hall that are back here in the very back. You see a number of bikes. I mean, Nick, it's one of the guys that's, championed recently. He'll be judging the competition. But all the bikes that are here on the red carpet, I have to go judge my fair portion of those bikes. I can't judge my own class, which is fair. But we've got guys out here in Mod Harley, Custom Street, Freestyle, which is, as crazy as it gets. And there's also People's Choice. So as you guys walk around today, take the time to look at the bikes you like. Go over to the JP Cycles Judging Center right here. It's kind of at the middle of this intersection. And put 1,700 on your card and put it in the bin for People's Choice, because I think it's a good idea.
You think that's a good idea?
To put 1,700 in that.
There you go. Well,
thing.
And that is true. JMP Cycles is a sponsor. They've been a huge supporter of the custom motorcycle world since they began. It's why they began. John Parham started that company in Anamosa, Iowa years ago. Good Midwestern roots. Sponsor of the JMP Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show, which is giving away $70,000 tomorrow at the award ceremony. The winner is going to get this Paco roller that they donated, an HMC Industries lift, and a check for $10,000 for the freestyle class. The Mod Harley class is going to get a 120R motor and some money. So if you guys want to see what bikes won, that's great. If you want to influence that, like he said, go vote there. Folks, we're out of time for Grease and Gears Garage. Thanks for being with us. Come back, check the boards, come back and see us. Check us out on Grease and Gears Garage on YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kristen.
Well, put your hands together, make some noise for our friends from Grease and Gears Garage, powered by Cycle Source.